So, Sakina, can you put the link to the Facebook Live on our groups?
Yeah, I've just shared it on the.
It's here. Yeah, can you share it on our WhatsApp groups?
Yeah, we'll begin. I think we are live.
We're good, yes.
All right. तो सभी साथियों को मेरा सलाम. Good evening. Welcome to NAPM second conversation of Grounded Voices, Zamini Awazein. Grounded Voices is basically an initiative to talk about the various struggles going on in the country by peoples of different identities, different communities, women, Dalit, Adivasis, trans folks, students and the किसान मजदूर सभी की जो आवाजें हैं और जो उनके संघर्ष हैं और जो लोग उन संघर्षों से डायरेक्टली जुड़े हुए हैं उन्हीं से हम सुने उन संघर्षों के बारे में उनके बारे में. तो ये ग्राउंडेड वॉइसेस का आइडिया है. आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है इट इज अबाउट फीमेल जेनिटल म्यूटिलेशन एंड yesterday it was the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. Now, this is a topic that we do not speak about very often. Even within the women's rights groups, even within social movements, we do not hear much discussion around this topic. So since yesterday, it was also the International Day for Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation, it becomes all the more relevant to talk about it today. Just to give a context about the issue, female genital mutilation is basically a practice of partial or total removal of external female genitalia or inflicting other forms of injuries to female genitalia for non-medical reasons. It is a cultural practice. The World Health Organization classifies FGM, as we call it, in 4 different types depending on the type of injury inflicted on female genitalia. And according to WHO, there are about 200 million girls who go through different forms of FGM in parts of Africa, Middle East, and Asia in different forms. In India, genital mutilation is mostly practiced within the Bora Shia community, and it is performed on young girls before mostly less than the age of 15, and it majorly involves removing the prepuce tissue from the clitoris. We talk about it, we talk about zero tolerance towards it, as we conceptualize it, we understand it as a grave violation of human rights of children and women. It has serious physical, psychological effects in the form of pain, severe bleeding, problems related to intimacy, sexual intercourse, infections, and post-traumatic stress, depression, and so on. We have 2 speakers with us today who have conceded to our request to shed more light on this issue. We have Masuma Ranalvi and Sakina with us. I welcome you both to today's discussion. Masuma ji is the founder of We Speak Out. It is an initiative that works with the objective of ending the practice of khatna, female genital mutilation, and building a community of survivors who also share this vision. She's a law graduate, a British Chevening scholar, an Aspen New Voices Fellow, and a storyteller at The Moth, which is a global storytelling organization. An FGM survivor herself, she's committed to end this inhuman practice. We have Sakina with us. She's also one of the co-founders of We Speak Out. Sakina is a social science researcher with Liberation Technology. She has worked in the field of education and technology for transparency in social security and rights-based programs in India. She was involved with the Stranded Workers Action Network, SWAN, to work on migrant relief. हिंदी भाषी के जो हमारे साथी हम लोग के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं उनके लिए मैं बहुत ब्रीफली बता दूं कि हम महिलाओं में जो खतना की प्रथा है मेजरली बोरा शिया कम्युनिटी में जो इंडिया में पाई जाती है उस पर हम आज बात कर रहे हैं और सकीना और मासूमा जी हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. So once again, thank you for conceding to our request. To just open up the discussion, first of all, I would like to give this space to you, Masuma, and just please tell us about what what we speak out is, what was the need to initiate such a program, and when did it like occur to you that there is a need to come out with an initiative like this?
Thank you so much, Shiva, and thank you to National Alliance for People's Movements to invite us and to actually have a discussion on this topic. So it's really amazing, and I'm grateful that Zero Tolerance Day has really been observed in the country. There are a lot of news organizations actually who have written about it. The issue is being discussed in public space. So it's incredible. I mean, it's a journey, and I think I take a little credit for that, bringing this issue out to the open. मैं एक छोटी कहानी से शुरू करना चाहूंगी. जब मैं 7 साल की थी, मैं बम्बई शहर में रहती थी. बम्बई के एक मुस्लिम इलाके में रहती थी, नागपाड़ा. और हमारी दादी जो है महाराष्ट्र के एक गांव से आती थी गर्मियों की छुट्टियों में. तो दादी आई थी, और दादी जो है वो बहुत बाहर ले जाती थी हमें घुमाने, और मज़ा आता था जब दादी आती थी. तो एक साल जब मैं 7 साल की हो गई थी तब वो आई थी, और उसने कहा कि हम तुम्हें बाहर घुमाने ले जाते हैं. बड़ी खुश हो गई. मेरी माँ ने मुझे मेरा सबसे अच्छा ड्रेस पहनाया, और मैं दादी के साथ गई. दादी मुझे जब दादी के साथ जाते थे तब चॉकलेट और कैंडी वगैरह मिलता था, तो बड़ा मज़ा आता था, और घूमने मिलता था. तो दादी मुझे ले गई भिंडी बाजार, जो भी एक बम्बई में एक इलाका है जहाँ पर ज़्यादातर बोहरा मुस्लिम्स रहते हैं, और मैं बोहरा मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी की हिस्सेदार हूँ. हम गए वहाँ पर. एक छोटी सी बिल्डिंग, दो मंजिल की बिल्डिंग के अंदर गए, और पहली मंजिल पे गए. अंधेरा अंधेरा सा था, और एक दरवाजे पे खटखटाया. अब मुझे लगा हम तो कहीं पार्क में जाएंगे घूमने, लेकिन ये तो किसी के घर आ गए. खटखटाया. अंदर एक काफी बुजुर्ग महिला ने दरवाजा खोला, और मैं अंदर गई. दादी का हाथ पकड़ा हुआ था एकदम टाइट. अंदर गई, और हमारे में हम नीचे बैठते हैं जमीन पे, तो कारपेट और चादर बिछाई जाती है, तो चप्पल वगैरह बाहर रखते हैं घर के बाहर. और अंदर गए एक कमरे में, उसने दरवाजा बंद कर दिया, और हम नीचे बैठे दादी और मैं. और दादी मुझे कहने लगी तुम लेट जाओ. अब मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा था दादी क्या कह रही है, क्यों कह रही है लेट जाओ. मुझे लेटना तो नहीं है, मुझे तो बाहर जाना है घूमने. तो दादी ने मुझे हल्के से मेरे शोल्डर को पकड़ के मुझे ऐसे धकेला, तो मैं लेटूं. और तब तक मैं काफी डर भी गई थी. जो दूसरी जो महिला थी उसने मेरे पैर पकड़े. दादी मेरे हाथ पकड़ के रखी थी नीचे, और वो महिला ने मेरे पैर पकड़े. तो मुझे बहुत घबराहट सी होने लगी कि क्या हो रहा है, और मुझे क्यों पकड़ा जा रहा है, मुझे क्यों ऐसे बंदी बनाया जा रहा है. ये सब बहुत जल्दी हुआ. दादी वो औरत ने मेरी पैंटी निकाली. उसके पास कुछ इंस्ट्रूमेंट था, ब्लेड था या सिजर था, मुझे पता नहीं क्या था, लेकिन कुछ इंस्ट्रूमेंट था शार्प. उसने वो इंस्ट्रूमेंट लेके मेरे जेनिटल्स का एक हिस्सा काटा. बहुत बहुत जोर से दर्द हुआ, और मैं चीखी और रोने लगी, जोर जोर से रोने लगी. उसने कुछ काला पाउडर डाला वहां पर, पैंटी पहनाई वापस, और कहा हो गया अब जाओ. मैं बहुत ज्यादा रो रही थी, और मुझे कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा था क्या हुआ मेरे साथ. घर पहुंची, और मैं माँ को पकड़ के बहुत ज्यादा रोने लग गई. माँ ने बोला चुप रहो, कुछ नहीं, सब ठीक हो जाएगा. उसके बाद कुछ दिनों तक बहुत दर्द होता था, खासतौर के जब मैं पेशाब करती थी तब बहुत ज्यादा दर्द हो रहा था. उस सिलसिले में से खून भी आ रहा था. मुझे किसी ने कुछ बताया नहीं क्या हुआ, क्यों हुआ, क्या काटा गया, कुछ नहीं. ना तो माँ ना तो दादी कुछ बोला नहीं. और मुझे कहा गया कि तुम शांत रहो, चुप रहो, कुछ नहीं होगा, तुम ठीक हो जाओगी. 7 साल की उम्र थी, बहुत ही मैं मासूम थी, नादान थी, और डरी हुई थी. मेरा जो गुस्सा था वो भी सहमा हुआ था. जिंदगी आगे बढ़ती गई. उस बात का जिक्र मैंने कभी किसी से किया नहीं. माँ से कभी किया नहीं, दादी से कभी किया नहीं, मेरी बहनें हैं, 2 बड़ी बड़ी बहनें हैं, उनसे भी कभी जिक्र नहीं किया। ये एक जो हुआ था मेरे साथ हादसा, उसका जो ट्रॉमा जिसे अंग्रेजी में शब्द है, वो एक तरीके से अंदर ही अंदर मैंने दबा के रखा था। बहुत साल हो गए, मैं कॉलेज जाने लगी, मैंने पढ़ा, बहुत सारे लेख पढ़े, और हमारे में इसको खतना कहते थे, लेकिन मुझे ठीक से पता भी नहीं था ये खतना हुआ है मेरे साथ, लेकिन मैंने सुना था खतना है। फीमेल जेनिटल म्यूटिलेशन, ये शब्द तो मैंने कभी सुना ही नहीं था। बड़ी हो गई, कॉलेज जा रही थी, फिर मैंने पढ़े थे कुछ लेख फीमेल जेनिटल म्यूटिलेशन के बारे में, तब मुझे लगा कि ये जो हो रहा है ये सेम टू सेम मेरे साथ हुआ है। और तब भी मुझ में हिम्मत नहीं हो रही थी कि मैं इसके बारे में किसी से बात करूं। 40 साल के बाद मुझ में हिम्मत आई कि मेरे साथ जो हुआ है उसके बारे में मैं बोलूं, इसके बारे में मैं बात करूं। आपको मैं बताना चाहूंगी, मैंने स्त्री आंदोलन में हिस्सा लिया है, मैंने औरतों के साथ काम किया है अलग अलग समस्याओं पर, लेकिन मेरी खुद की कहानी बताने की मेरे में हिम्मत कभी नहीं हुई। सबसे जो डीप फ्रेंड रहता है अपना, जो मेरी सहेली है, शादी भी हो गई पति के साथ, किसी के साथ भी मुझे इस बात का के बारे में बात करने की कभी हिम्मत नहीं हुई। 40 साल के बाद मेरी बेटी जवान हो गई, 24-25 साल की बेटी, और तब ऑस्ट्रेलिया में एक केस हुआ था एमजीएम का, जहाँ पे बोहरा समाज की 2 लड़कियों पर हुआ था, 2 बच्चियों पर हुआ था, और वो वहाँ पे केस चल रहा था। और जब मैंने पढ़ा उसके बारे में, मुझे लगा कि ये चुप्पी गलत है, चुप रहना गलत है, क्योंकि मेरे साथ जो 40 साल पहले हुआ था वो आज भी, अभी भी, इस वक्त भी हो रहा है, और हम अगर चुप रहेंगे तो ये प्रथा चलती रहेगी। तो मैंने तय किया कि मैं मेरी कहानी सुनाऊंगी सबको, और मैंने मेरी बात पब्लिक में लिखी, मैंने कहानी लिखी मेरी, और मैंने ब्लॉग पब्लिश करवाया। जब मैंने ये बात कही, आसान नहीं था ये बात कहना, बहुत हिचकिचाहट हुई, बहुत बहुत मुश्किल था, पर आई टुक द स्टेप ऑफ टेलिंग माई स्टोरी। And when I spoke my story, when I told my story, जब मैंने कहानी बताई, मुझे पता नहीं था क्या होगा, मैंने कुछ सोचा नहीं था इसके बारे में क्या करेंगे हम, लेकिन मुझे सिर्फ कहना था। और जब मैंने कहा, बहुत सी महिलाएं, बोहरा समाज की महिलाओं ने मुझे मैसेजेस भेजे, ईमेल भेजे, कि उन्होंने मुझे एक प्रोत्साहन दिया। उन्होंने कहा कि बहन, तुम्हारी जो कहानी है वो हमारी भी कहानी है, और मुझे उन्होंने सराहाया। और जब मुझे इस तरह के मैसेजेस मिले, मुझे बेहद खुशी हुई कि मैं अकेली नहीं हूँ, बहुत से ऐसी औरतें हैं जो मेरी तरह सोचते हैं। और उस समय पर, उस मोमेंट में, इन दैट मोमेंट, आई फेल्ट कि क्यों ना हम एक दूसरे से बात करें। और मैंने एक व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप शुरू किया 5 लोगों के साथ, उसमें से मेरी 2 बहनें थी और 2 दोस्त थे। हम लोग 5 ने एक व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप शुरू किया, जिसका नाम मैंने स्पीक आउट ऑन एफजीएम लिखा। और हमने कहा कि ठीक है, हम दूसरी महिला जो हमारे जैसी है, जो सर्वाइवर्स है, जिन पर ये प्रथा हुई है, हम उनसे भी मिलने की कोशिश करें, बात करने की कोशिश करें। 10 दिन के अंदर हमारे जो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में 50 महिलाएं जुड़ गई, और ये महिलाएं पहली बार जिंदगी में, हम सबकी जिंदगी में पहली बार, हम हमारे साथ, हमारे शरीर के साथ, हमारे जो बहुत ही एक नाजुक और सेंसिटिव सेक्सुअल पार्ट है, जो है क्लिटोरल हुड और क्लिटोरिस, उसके बारे में बात करना शुरू किया। और वही था जन्म वी स्पीक आउट का। और जब हम महिलाएं एक साथ बोलने लगी, तो पहली बार जिंदगी में हमने हमारे सेक्सुअल के बारे में, हमारी सेक्सुअलिटी के बारे में, सेक्सुअल प्लेजर के बारे में, सेक्सुअल डिजायर्स के बारे में, हमारी शादी की जो मैरिटल इश्यूज है उसके बारे में इतनी सब बातें निकल के आई जो कभी किसी ने बात नहीं की थी। और वहां से हमने एक फैसला किया कि हम मिलकर इस प्रथा को बंद करने की मुहिम शुरू करेंगे। तो ये है हमारी कहानी।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया मासूमा जी। मतलब आपके जज्बे को सलाम, और आपने ये जो कम्युनिटी शुरू की इसके लिए भी आपको बधाई। मैं सकीना से जानना चाहूँगी, आप वी स्पीक आउट से कैसे जुड़े? और जब हम एक कम्युनिटी बनाने की बात करते हैं ऑफ एफजीएम सर्वाइवर्स, तो व्हाट डज इट एंटेल? इसका प्रोसेस क्या है? इसमें what are the support mechanisms involved? Once people become the part of that community, what is the way forward from there?
थैंक्स शिवा, और शुक्रिया मीरा, कैट और एनएपीएम को ये ऑर्गेनाइज करने के लिए, और खास करके मासूमा का। अभी भी जब हम एक दूसरे की कहानी सुनते हैं तो रोंगटे खड़े हो जाते हैं। आई हैव अ लंप इन माय थ्रोट इवन राइट नाउ मासूमा की कहानी सुन के। जब मासूमा ने इसके बारे में मेरे ख्याल से 2014 के आसपास एक आर्टिकल लिखा था एनडीटीवी में, और मैंने उस आर्टिकल को पढ़ा था। फ्रेंड ऑफ माइन फॉरवर्डेड इट टू मी, एंड शी इज आल्सो बोरा, सो शी सेड कि ये देखो, ये पढ़ो इसको, एंड आई रेड इट। एंड तब my first reaction to reading that article was that I cringed. I said, yaar, I didn't want to read it at this point in time because this is now a point of no return. अब इसको पढ़ के कोई इग्नोर नहीं कर सकता। और जैसे कि मासूमा ने कहा, हम में से कई ऐसे लोग हैं जिनको ये पूरी बातें याद थी। I remembered every detail as vividly as Masuma did of her khatna, that I did of my own. So then, I cringed. I said, yeah, this is not something I wanted to remember right now, and it's a painful thing to recall again. So I read it and I thought, what shall, but now I remembered it, and I remembered every little detail of it, and so I said, what to do. So I clicked on some other links and I started reading a little bit more about it, and I was just a little more curious about it. And it so happened that after a few days, somebody added me to the We Speak Out on FGM WhatsApp group. And then I saw that there were so many other women. And until that point, even I had a lot of misconceptions about it. I mean, even I hadn't read so much about the female body and the female sexual organs as I did after I joined We Speak Out, and that group rather, Speak Out on FGM. I became part of this WhatsApp group, and we started having a lot of conversations about what this is, why it happens. In fact, until that point in time, I thought this is a practice that happens to all Muslim women, and that it's just nobody talks about it to each other. So I began reading more about it, discussing things with Masuma and Zehra, who's also one of our other co-founders. And I found a lot of strength in talking about these things with them. It was also a very safe space where I felt comfortable enough to discuss these things with them. It's only after that I actually spoke to my mother about it, because for all these years, मैंने मेरी माँ से भी नहीं पूछा था कि ये क्यों होता है, या आप क्यों लेके गए थे मुझे। बस the one difference was कि जब मेरी खतना हुई थी तब मुझे बताया गया था that there is a portion of the devil inside you. एक शैतान का थोड़ा सा हिस्सा हर किसी में होता है जिसको निकालने की जरूरत होती है। So जिस आंटी ने मेरी खतना की थी उन्होंने मुझे खतना करने के बाद कहा था कि देखो, अब तुम्हारे अंदर से जो शैतान था वो हमने निकाल दिया है। और उस समय भी मुझे कुछ समझ में नहीं आया था, पर उन चीजों को कौन क्वेश्चन करता है। फिर जैसे समय बीतते गया, हम कुछ लोग थोड़े और एक्टिव हो गए, और हमने सोचा कि क्यों ना इसको एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का रूप दिया जाए, क्यों ना इसको थोड़ा एक फॉर्मल कैंपेन के रूप में हम चलाए। And that's how We Speak Out became a group of people who started thinking about how to end this practice in India and also abroad where other Bora women live. So We Speak Out के कई हिस्से हैं जो दूसरे देशों में भी है और इंडिया में भी काफी लोग हैं जो हम साथ में जुड़े हुए हैं. दूसरी एक बात है कि वी स्पीक आउट की जर्नी मेरे लिए बहुत ही पर्सनल जर्नी रही है, क्योंकि it's not only about खतना और FGM. It's also about questioning a lot of things जो हमारे अंदर होती है. कितनी biases और sexist चीजें हैं जो हम बहुत समय से प्रैक्टिस करते आते हैं. And FGM is it's a symbol of a lot of these practices that women carry forward. So mothers pass it on to daughters. It's not even inflicted by men. In some ways it is, but mothers take it forward and make that decision कि हम हमारी बेटियों को cut करेंगे. So I think this, for me, that was also a really important aspect of being a part of We Speak Out, where I started to question a lot of things and practices that we have been doing and propagating without thinking about it. So that's how I became part of We Speak Out, and it's been 5-6 years now, and it's been a wonderful journey.
Okay, thank you, Sakina. In the same vein, since you were talking about also realizing it, like you said, that it is just not about genital mutilation, but about the rights and dignity as a woman. In the same vein, so since we are talking about zero tolerance to khatna, from a rights-based perspective, how do we understand it? Why is there a need for zero tolerance towards it? Apart from the medical aspects, are there more aspects to it that we need to understand so that we adopt this framework of complete banning of the practice? Also, if I could just add to it, like in the course, yeah. So sorry. So in the course of the conversations or the basic research that we also did, one of the questions that constantly came up was that circumcision is a very broadly practiced thing among men also. So what is the need of talking about it, particularly for women? So if you could shed light on that aspect also, any one of you.
Sure. So I'll answer that.
Maybe
so there are a couple of issues which you've spoken about. Okay, sure. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Masima. There's a little bit time lag. Go ahead.
You can hear from both of you. Like Masima, can you start first?
Okay, I can start and then we can move on to Sakina. So there are a couple of issues which you've asked us to talk about. I think one of the things which we need to understand is that, and which Sakina also mentioned, is khatna or female genital mutilation is actually a very, very deep-seated patriarchal practice. The whole basis of the practice, the whole conception of this idea of, cutting a woman's genitals and attacking her clitoris and a clitoral hood, it stems from the idea that a woman and her sexuality, her sexual desires and her sexual pleasure have to be curbed and contained. And the whole concept that it is a woman who is responsible to maintain the sanctity of a marriage, कि औरत को promiscuous नहीं होना चाहिए, that she should not be having premarital sex or extramarital sex, and that she has to completely be within that format of a marriage, and she is not entitled to a sexual desire and sexual pleasures. That is the basis of it, because if you see the part which is cut in the practice of FGM, the most important part which is under attack is the clitoris. Now the clitoris is that organism in the body which is the only part for sexual pleasure, and it's an extremely sensitive part. There are about 7,000 nerve endings on the clitoris, and the clitoral hood actually it's a very God-made, nature-made part to protect this very sensitive part of the clitoris. It's like when you go for a root canal, there's one nerve which is to be removed. But the amount of pain you go through to remove that one nerve is, the amount of painkillers you take. So now you're talking about 7,000 nerve endings here. So the clitoral hood protects the clitoris. Now, by removing this clitoral hood, you're actually exposing the clitoris. And as we have found in our research, in almost 99% of the cases, clitoris also gets damaged. And these are all irreversible damages that we're talking about. And this also impacts marital relationships in the long run. So the basis of it being patriarchy. The second and the most important thing about it is, in a modern society and in modern times and in modern day, we talk about bodily integrity, that my body is something which is mine. Nobody has a right over my body. And there is a preservation of my bodily integrity. When a procedure like FGM, especially for a child, because there is no question of consent for a child, and you are attacking and removing a part of a body which is so important for the sexuality of a woman. So that's where the whole concept of rights comes in, that these are some things. And what are human rights? These are rights which we develop and acquire over a period of time as human beings progress. And as we start looking at women outside of a patriarchal format, a woman as an entity. And that's where I think we need to understand the whole basis and the whole practice of female genital mutilation. Just one more point about the difference between the male and female circumcision and genital mutilation, or genital cutting as it is known, is the reason for a woman's khatna is to control her, is to control her sexual pleasure. The reason for a man's circumcision is definitely not to control that. The reasons they put forward is of hygiene and, those kind of reasons, but it is not at all to impact their sexual pleasure. So there's a very, very fundamental difference between why the two procedures are happening. And if you see the nature of the practice in some of the countries like Africa, where you have, the entire external genitalia of women are cut. Not only are the entire external genitalia cut, the vaginal opening is sewed up completely, except for a small opening, the urethra, for passing urine. And why? The reason why you're sewing up a vagina is because you want to make sure she's not going to have sex with anybody outside of her marriage. So the basis of that practice is that, and that's something which we need to understand. Sakina.
Sakina, and just to add a little bit about the male and female, the difference between the circumcisions also. One of the things is that I'll specifically talk about the khatna that the Bora community does. It's done in a very clandestine manner, without any anesthesia, without any medical supervision. And it's done at the age of 7. So it's a very, it's done in very unhygienic conditions. It's done in unsafe conditions. So leave aside the mental trauma and the psychological damage that it does. It's also a very, unsafe practice. There has been a case of a woman in Surat who went, to get this procedure done for her daughter, and then her daughter wouldn't stop bleeding. And then she had to actually take her, run from one hospital to another to help stop the bleeding. So there are so many such cases which don't come to light because this is such a secretive practice that, you're not even supposed to talk about it to your own family. That such cases don't rarely come to light. And if there is any damage, it's only when you grow up that you realize that so much damage has been done, whether psychological or physical or both. So I think that aspect also one needs to understand, that's different from the male circumcision practices. The second thing that you asked, Shiva, about rights, I mean, in India, we have fundamental rights. We have Article 15, we have Article 21. this practice clearly violates all of these fundamental rights of girl children. Um, I don't think there's much needs to be said about it. It's a clear outrageous violation. It's a barbaric practice. But just in more legal terms, the UN has about 21 resolutions that actually talks about outlawing female genital mutilation and talks about it being a crime against women and children. And India has actually ratified so many such UN conventions where female genital mutilation is considered a crime. And it's right from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but also more recent ones like the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which India ratified in 1993, which actually requires the state to ensure that it has laws to prohibit FGM. And more than 50 countries now in the world have outlawed and banned this practice, but India doesn't seem to recognize that it exists at all. We'll be talking about the legal aspects of this perhaps a bit later, but we have turned a blind eye in this country and said, the government of India said there's no practice like FGM in India because we don't have the data for it. So that's the travesty of the situation at the moment.
Absolutely. It's extremely important to talk about the legal aspect, as you hinted a little bit, but we'll come to it in a bit. Before that, I also wanted to know, since it's also almost a taboo to talk about it, like what are the health implications of this practice in that scenario? Do women have easy access to healthcare facilities? Do they face any form of discrimination? Since since even talking about it is difficult. So what is the state of healthcare facilities or the access to healthcare facilities when it comes to FGM?
So, I mean, I think we
as
spoke
I mentioned,
a lot about
it's done without
physical
anesthesia or medical supervision.
Go ahead.
I think Shiva, you should direct the question to one of us because there's a time lag between the both of us.
I'll do that from now on. For now, Sakina, can you go ahead?
Yeah. No, so I think I understand this in two ways, right? Like the immediate effect is that it's done without any anesthesia or medical supervision. And sometimes this procedure does go horribly wrong. So in the short term, it definitely leads to pain, shock, and trauma. Sometimes tetanus because of the sort of instruments being used, genital sores, of course, excessive bleeding. And, it's such a small and sensitive area that people who are not trained, even people who are trained find it difficult. Like Masuma said that, when you're trying to cut the clitoral hood, you end up damaging the clitoris as well. So people who are not practitioners and medical professionals are conducting these procedures, and things can go terribly wrong. And since people don't talk about this practice, there's obviously no question of any specific healthcare support. So because it's such a secret, even if there is a problem, oftentimes healthcare, is not sought. And women are generally asked to bear the pain. I mean, not women, but children are asked to bear the pain and say it will heal in a few days. I myself was told that, don't worry, it's going to heal in a few days. And while my mother was fairly supportive and kind to me, but because there was so much secrecy around it, even she couldn't do much about it, and she couldn't even speak up about it, even if she wanted to. And I think it has long-term effects also, right? So there are psychological and effects on these things, right from sexual disorders to just the fear of sexual intimacy, nightmares, PTSD. ये सारी चीजें, despite so much other awareness on things that women go through, still once you even speak up about it, asking for help and saying ki मुझे ये हो रहा है, इनफैक्ट टू रिकॉग्नाइज कि मुझे कुछ चीजें जो हो रही है वो इसलिए हो रही है क्योंकि मुझे उस चीज का ट्रॉमा था जो मेरे साथ इतने पहले हुआ था। तो वो अप्रोच करना भी बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है लोगों के लिए कि बड़े होने के बाद भी अब आप कैसे बात कर सकते हैं एक चीज के बारे में जो सालों साल पहले हुई थी। यू डोंट इवन मेक द कनेक्शन कि this is what has happened and this is why I need healthcare, I mean support, whether mental health or physical health support. और एक चीज है कि बिफोर वी स्पीक आउट, मुझे मुझे नहीं लगता था कि एटलीस्ट मेरे पास कोई विकल्प है कि मैं इन चीजों के बारे में किसी से बात कर सकूं। इवन दो मेरे परिवार में काफी सपोर्टिव स्ट्रक्चर है, मेरे इमीडिएट फैमिली में, फिर भी जिस तरीके से हमें the way we grow up, the way we are taught to be in our schools and in our society, हम इसके बारे में कभी खुल के बात कर ही नहीं सकते। तो अभी भी अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम होती है तो एक दिमाग में, मन में एक हिचकिचाहट होती है कि कैसे इसके बारे में किसी से बात करें। So I do think that, of course, there is need, one, to recognize the practice and to understand it and study it better. Second, to have proper healthcare professionals who can tackle these things, deal with whether physical or psychological or both sets of trauma. And I think third, groups like We Speak Out and Sahio also, which is another group which actively works on this issue, are really important for people to share their stories, to talk about these things, and to feel that there is a place where somebody will listen to you without judging you, and understand it, because so many of us have gone through the practice, I mean, gone through this procedure in our lifetimes. And I think that solidarity and space really, really is very important. Yeah, Masuma?
नहीं, I just want to add one thing कि आप कह रही है medical support and medical infrastructure, but the point is आज इंडिया में आप कोई भी गायनिकोलॉजिस्ट के पास चले जाओ, उसको फीमेल जेनिटल म्यूटिलेशन के बारे में कुछ पता नहीं है। I have been to doctors and I've spoken to them about it and they really have no clue. तो अगर आपको सपोर्ट चाहिए और मेडिकल हेल्प चाहिए, आप कहाँ जाओगे? जो किस्सा अभी सकीना ने सुनाया था, जो सूरत में अभी एक बच्ची के साथ हुआ था और उसको नॉन स्टॉप ब्लीडिंग 2 दिन तक हो रही थी। अब वो माँ बहुत परेशान थी कि मेरी बच्ची की जान जा सकती है, 6 साल की बच्ची की इतनी ब्लीडिंग हो रही, कहाँ ले जाऊं मैं उसको? हॉस्पिटल भाग रही है वो, हॉस्पिटल वाले देख रहे हैं कि ये बच्ची जेनिटल एरिया से ब्लीड हो रहा है, तो उनके दिमाग में रेप आ रहा है और वो बोल रहे हैं ये पुलिस केस है, हम इसको छुएंगे नहीं। ठीक है, फिर उसने किसी कांटेक्ट के साथ किसी सोशल वर्कर से मिलके कहीं कुछ और डॉक्टर के पास गए और उस डॉक्टर ने उसको स्टिच अप कर दिया ताकि वो ब्लीडिंग स्टॉप करे। लेकिन जिस तरह की मेडिकल इग्नोरेंस और इलिटरेसी है, तो पहले उसने जब वो डाइमा कटर मिडवाइफ से बात किया, उसने कहा सोफ्रामाइसिन लगा लो, ब्लीडिंग बंद हो जाएगी। मतलब कि इस लेवल की इग्नोरेंस है इन the medical community, in our community, amongst the public, amongst the entire system. So nobody really understands what is this whole procedure, what is this whole practice, what are the implications of it. किसी को कुछ समझ नहीं, तो आपको मदद कहाँ से मिलेगी?
In general भी फीमेल सेक्सुअलिटी को लेकर, रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ को लेकर इंडिया में मेजर लैग है, इन स्पेसिफिकली इन द एरिया ऑफ गायनेकोलॉजी। अब जबकि हम ये बात समझ रहे हैं कि ना सिर्फ सेहत के नजरिए से, हेल्थ के नजरिए से, बल्कि अधिकारों के नजरिए से भी इस मुद्दे पर बात करना कितना जरूरी है, तो अब कुछ हद तक जब हम इस दिक्कत को समझ पा रहे हैं, तो अब हम इस पर चलते हैं कि इस पे फिर किया क्या जाए, इससे आगे की राह क्या है। सकीना ने जैसा कहा कि भारत में इसको रिकॉग्नाइज भी नहीं करते हैं, भारत में कोई लॉ नहीं है ये बोल के कि भारत में खतना की प्रथा औरतों में है ही नहीं। और दूसरा इसका पहलू ये भी है कि भारत, बहुत सारे लोग इसीलिए आते हैं टू गेट देयर गर्ल चिल्ड्रन go through this procedure because it is not illegal in India. तो उस रिगार्ड में फिर I like would like to ask मासूमा कि इसका लीगल एस्पेक्ट क्या है, लीगैलिटी इसमें, और कुछ काम हो रहा है तो क्या काम हो रहा है, वी स्पीक आउट इस मुद्दे पर क्या काम कर रहा है ऑन द लीगल फ्रंट. तो मासूमा.
तो एक्चुअली जब हम काम शुरू किए, शुरू में ही हमें बहुत सारी बाधाएं आने लगी, और जैसे कि हम सब जानते हैं कि जब हम किसी भी सोशल चेंज या किसी भी रिफॉर्म की बात करेंगे, रेजिस्टेंस तो पहले आएगा, और औरतों को चुप करने के लिए, औरतों को दबाने के लिए बहुत सारी कोशिशें होती है. तो हमने भी जब शुरू किया था, हमारा पहला कदम एक्चुअली ये था कि हमारे समाज में हो रहा है, हमारे कम्युनिटी में हो रहा है, तो हम हमारे समाज के लोगों से बात करें कि भाई हम औरतें बोल रही है, हमारे शरीर के साथ क्या हो रहा है, हमारी सेक्सुअलिटी के साथ क्या हो रहा है, आप समझने की कोशिश कीजिए और हम इसे बदलें, हम प्रोग्रेस की बात करें. लेकिन जब वो दरवाजा बंद हो गया और वो जब हमारी बात सुनने से कंप्लीटली नकार दिया, उन्होंने कहा कि हम औरतों की बातें को सुनना ही नहीं चाहते हैं, बहुत कोशिश की फिर भी नहीं हुआ, तब हमारे सामने सवाल था कि अब हम करें क्या. अब जो कानून की बात आती है, तो कानून की बात आती है तो फिर कानून बनाना होता है, और कानून का जो पूरा ढांचा होता है और लीगल सिस्टम जिसे हम कहते हैं वो होता है. लेकिन यहाँ पर जैसे सकीना ने कहा, ये फंडामेंटल राइट्स की बात है एक तरफ, दूसरी तरफ ये जो प्रोसीजर है वो एक तरीके से एक क्राइम है. आप किसी को बहुत ही गहरी तरीके से चोट नहीं, लेकिन उनका एक अहम हिस्सा काट रहे हैं. ठीक है, तो इसको लीगल टर्मिनोलॉजी में क्रिमिनल एक्ट है. तो जब हम इसके बारे में सोचने लगे, और हमारे सामने सवाल था कि हम लीगल रूट ले या न ले, लेकिन क्या हुआ हमारे मूवमेंट में कि सुनीता तिवारी नाम की एक लॉयर ने एक कोर्ट में केस फाइल कर दिया, कि PIL फाइल किया सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कि ये प्रथा बैन होनी चाहिए. अब सुनीता तिवारी जी ने तो डाल दिया और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने उसको एडमिट कर लिया. तब हमने सोचा कि हमें भी बात अपनी रखनी चाहिए, और मैं इंटरवीनिंग पिटिशनर बन गई उस केस में. और उससे पहले भी हम जब सरकारी ऑफिशियल्स, WCD मिनिस्ट्री है, नेशनल कमीशन ऑफ विमेन है, जब इनके पास गए हम ये बात ले करके, क्योंकि ये सब इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं हमारे देश में जो महिलाओं और बच्चियों के हक के बारे में के लिए बनाए गए हैं, उनके राइट्स को सपोर्ट और उनके राइट्स को प्रमोट करने के लिए. और उस समय पर भी हमें WCD मिनिस्ट्री ने कहा था कि देखिए हमारे देश में बहुत से कानून हैं जो इस इशू को टैकल कर सकते हैं, जैसे कि पॉक्सो है, प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ चिल्ड्रन फ्रॉम सेक्सुअल ऑफेंसेस, जैसे कि इंडियन पीनल कोड है, और उसमें आर्टिकल्स 326, 327, 328 है, which deals with the whole the crime of grievous hurt with a sharp instrument. तो ये एक तरीके से grievous hurt होता है, और बच्चों पे होता है तो फिर वो पॉक्सो आता है, and it's got to do with the sexual part. But there is the absence of sexual intent in the whole POXO, as far as the POXO law is concerned. So there are these laws. But as I said, as far as the medical profession was concerned, even as far as your legal profession is concerned, as far as your legal policy and advocacy space is concerned, there is a complete ignorance about what female genital mutilation is. There is no understanding of it. The policeman does not understand what female genital mutilation. Nobody does. आप कहाँ जाओगे, ये बात को लेके कहाँ जाओगे? आपको कोर्ट में केस करना पड़ेगा. अब कोर्ट में केस आप किसके खिलाफ करोगे? आप तो 6 साल या 7 साल की बच्ची है, 6 साल या 7 साल की बच्ची का तो आवाज भी नहीं है. वो होगा तो वो जब 18-20 साल की होगी, उसकी समझ आएगी तब होगा. केस आप किसके खिलाफ करोगे? Because the person who takes you is your mother. So there are a lot of these pechida issues which are there as far as legality of it is concerned. But since the matter was in the Supreme Court and the issue was that you should ban a practice like female genital mutilation, which on paper sounds totally correct, and it is something which should be banned. But how do you go about banning a procedure? What is the process? How will you actually go about? Who will ban it? The government will ban it, but then you have to have a support system to kind of enforce that ban. And that's where you will have a law which will criminalize the practice. That's where you will have, you know, your courts, you will have your investigation authorities, you will have your prosecution mechanisms for that. None of it which exists in this country. In fact, the very basic thing is acknowledging the fact that the practice like female genital mutilation is existing in India is itself is not being accepted by the government of India. On two occasions in the parliament, Indian parliament, में जब भारत सरकार को सवाल पूछे गए कि भाई आप फीमेल जेनिटल म्यूटिलेशन के बारे में क्या कर रहे हैं, ये एक, जैसे सकीना ने बताया, इंटरनेशनल कन्वेंशंस में आपने खुद साइन किया है कि ये प्रथा को खत्म होनी चाहिए. हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन टॉक्स अबाउट इक्वालिटी, डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं होना चाहिए. उसके बारे में आप क्या क्या करें? तो ये दोनों सवाल जब पार्लियामेंट में उठाए गए तब भारत सरकार का रिस्पांस था, इंडिया में एफजीएम नहीं है क्योंकि यहाँ पे एविडेंस नहीं है एफजीएम का और डेटा नहीं है एफजीएम का. तो इस तरह का जो रिस्पांस आया है भारत की सरकार से. लेकिन एक कानूनी ढांचे की जरूरत है क्योंकि ये एक कल्चरल प्रैक्टिस है, ये बहुत ही डीप सीटेड है. और अगर हम चाहते हैं कि ये खत्म हो जाए और इसे हम 2030 SDG भी है, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल है, तब हमें कुछ बनाना पड़ेगा जिससे हम इस प्रथा को रोके. और जो इस प्रथा को प्रमोट करते हैं और जो इस प्रथा को प्रोपगेट करते हैं, जो कहते हैं कि ये करना चाहिए, उन पर किस तरह से रोक लाई जाए. समाज के जो लोग हैं, बोहरा समाज के जो लोग हैं, जो महिलाएं हैं, जो पुरुष हैं, उनको हम किस तरह से उनको एडुकेट करें, उनको किस तरह से अवेयरनेस बिल्डिंग मैकेनिज्म करें ताकि वो समझिए कि ये करने से आपके बच्चे का नुकसान होगा, आपकी बच्ची का नुकसान होगा, आपकी बच्ची की जिंदगी का नुकसान होगा. तो ये सब करने की बहुत जरूरत है. लेकिन अभी फिलहाल हमारे देश में कुछ भी इस तरह का नहीं है. जो केस अभी चल रहा है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, एक 7 जज की बेंच ये मैटर को ले रही है. और अनफॉर्चुनेटली a practice which is more a cultural practice has been given a religious name. And now the Supreme Court is going to be deciding on the question whether it falls under the ambit of freedom of religion and whether it's an essential practice in the country. So the matter is actually pending in the court, and which is why we earlier said that it's a question of a fundamental right, not so much as a religious right.
But can we say that because since the petition is in court right now, there are initiatives like We Speak Out and Sahio working on in this regard, can we say that that gives some sort of strength to the movement? Is there more conversation within the community about FGM? What is the progress in that regard? Sakina, maybe?
Yeah, I think certainly there are many of us who are within the fold of the community, many of us in the group who are practicing as well. So the approach is not to be antagonistic to the community because we're within the community. And yesterday we were having a conversation, and Zahra, one of our other co-founders, said that, you know, I'm very much within the community and I believe that my community can change. And I agree with her, and I completely echo that many of us do believe that the community is capable of change and that the community does care about its women. The Bohra community is a well-to-do, affluent community. It does encourage education and is fairly progressive. So we do believe that the community is also capable of stopping this practice from within. And so one of the aspects of our work, जो हम अपने हर एक कॉन्वर्सेशन में लाते ही है कि हम कैसे हमारे कम्युनिटी के अंदर ही इस चीज को खत्म कर दे। हमने सहयोग के साथ 2 साल लगातार ईच वन रीच वन कैंपेन किया था, जब हम खुद एक दूसरे के फैमिलीज में, एक दूसरे के दोस्तों के साथ, सहेलियों के साथ, भाइयों के साथ, कजिन्स के साथ बात करते हैं इस प्रथा के बारे में। एंड वी एक्चुअली हैव अ कॉन्वर्सेशन गाइड जो कि वेबसाइट पे है, both Sayo and We Speak Out have it, where we actually have a guide where you can, you know, start this conversation with somebody in your close family or friends. So I think one important aspect of our work is to reach out to people within the community and bring about the change from within the community itself. And to a large extent, we have received a lot of support, where a lot of girls and women have said that, you know, even I didn't know about this and I had so many questions and doubts. But this has opened my eyes to something, and I was really scared about whom to ask, what to ask, because if you do end up speaking up about it, there are very, very high chances of social boycott and very high chances of, you know, ostracization, not just for yourself, but also for other people in your family, which is something that worries me as well. कि मैं किसी चीज के बारे में बात करती हूँ तो इसका असर मेरे परिवार पे क्या होगा, because वो तो बहुत ही जुड़े हुए हैं कम्युनिटी के साथ. So that's a one of the biggest fears, I think, इस चीज के लिए. But एक एक करके, you know, it's like one talks to one person and then she talks to another person, and this sort of grows, and we're hoping कि community के अंदर ही इसमें बदलाव आए. दूसरी चीज जिसके लिए हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं इस रिसर्च एंड डेटा. एक स्टडी वी स्पीक आउट और कुछ रिसर्चर्स ने कमीशन की थी. उसके अंदर हमने इस प्रथा के बारे में बात की, and the researchers have interviewed several survivors who've gone through the practice, many of them who oppose the practice, some of them who support the practice as well, and also some doctors and others, just to get their perspective. So एक स्टडी है जो कि हमारे वेबसाइट पे भी है, and we're hoping कि और भी organizations, research institutes इस चीज के बारे में रिसर्च करे, स्टडी करे, डेटा कलेक्ट करे, ताकि एक वाइडर अंडरस्टैंडिंग बने इस इशू के बारे में. दिस कम्स आउट मोर इन द ओपन. मासूमा ने हमारे लीगल इंटरवेंशन के बारे में तो बात की ही है, एंड दैट इज गोइंग ऑन. एंड आई थिंक फाइनली एक I'm reiterating that I think it's really important for social groups of solidarity, and that really helps women speak out, gives women the courage to discuss things with each other, understand things in greater depth, and also then, you know, form an opinion for yourself about it, because otherwise there's always this confusion, and it's a really gray area, because on one hand, you know, community कह रही है कि आपको ये करना है, and then when you've been in the community for so long, you naturally veer towards that कि भाई community में हो रहा होगा तो किसी वजह से हो रहा होगा. But when you actually start talking to other people about it, तब थोड़ी समझ भी बनती है, and you know, you start having the courage to talk about it also. So I think that's also a really important aspect, and सहयोग भी इस पे काफी काम कर रही है. इनफैक्ट एक और चीज है जो सहयोग और वी स्पीक आउट साथ में कर रहे हैं. There is a column on the Sayo website which is called Dear Masi, and Farzana, one of our colleagues at We Speak Out, is curating it. So anybody who has a question about these things reaches out and can ask. And Farzana, she is a psychotherapist by training, so she also takes, you know, she responds to those questions. And there's a lot of people who talk about, how am I supposed to talk about this to my mother? How am I supposed to talk about this to my sister? So those kind of conversation starters and guides to conversations are also very useful to start talking about it within your own community. So ये कुछ चीजें हैं जिसको लेकर के हम आगे बढ़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं फिलहाल.
Yeah. So one is the cultural aspect that both you and Masuma talked about, and I'm aware that the We Speak Out also reaches out to Bora leaders for intervening in this matter. If you also look at it from a social perspective, especially in the context of current India, where we see a criminalization, villainization of Muslim communities. The moment something, the moment we speak about something, some issues within the community, in that vein, when we speak about criminalization of khatna, what challenge does this pose then? In the current, specifically in the current climate, does it make it difficult to break through the silence, break through the already existing sort of uh, to not be able to move past this issue? Masuma ji, Sakina, whoever would like to answer that.
Um, yeah, sure. Sakina? Uh, okay, so I think that this is a question which comes to us very often, uh, especially in the context of the fact that we are living in a Hindu majoritarian state where there is an attack on the minorities. And when we speak about our community and we speak about our rights and we speak about social reform within our community, there are, there are these kind of questions that you're kind of betraying your community. But I don't think we're betraying our community in any way. In fact, we are trying to better our community. In fact, the basis of our movement is a social reform for the betterment of our community, for the betterment of our women, for the betterment of our girls and our children. So there's nothing which is a betrayal which is involved here. We're talking about progress. We're talking about change. And the most important thing I think is what we are doing is, and you have such few movements within the paradigm of religious communities, religious denominations, where women themselves are, talking about practices which kind of belittle them, which kind of harm them, and talking about a change. So I think there is a certain progressiveness to our whole movement, and that is an aspect which I always put forward and which I always promote when someone says, you are trying to put the Muslim community in a negative light. I said, no, I'm not. In fact, I am trying to put the Muslim community in a very positive light, that look, there is something which is going on for centuries, and it is we women who are fighting against it.
Sakina, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Masuma. And we are cognizant of it, right? We are cognizant of the times that we're living in. We are cognizant of the fact that there is a persecution, and this can become one way to persecute Muslims. So, but that, having said that, I think we also sort of have a belief that the community can bring about that change. And so, there is the need for a law. However, the thrust is so much more on trying to talk to each other and stop it from within ourselves. And so the law is, of course, required and it's necessary. But I think many of us do believe that the community is capable of change. And so I think whenever people do raise the question to us, we, like, Masuma said, we say that this is one way to actually make the Muslim community much stronger in India, by showing that, we're listening to our women, we're cognizant of their, their voices, and we're actually empathetic to what the women within our community say, and we're capable of change. And I think that's one way to show that that's a way to sort of support this movement. But I mean, there's no easy answer, no, Shiva, in the sense that we do understand what is happening, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about what we are facing. A similar thing that you were saying earlier about male circumcision. We do understand that that is a practice that is happening, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about what we are going through and that we want to stop this practice. Just because we're not talking about male circumcision, or we don't have to club both the things to say that we want this practice to stop. This is wrong, we want this to stop, period.
Correct, absolutely. It's really commendable, the kind of work that we speak out and Sahio, other organizations are also doing. एक लास्ट सवाल मैं ये पूछना चाहती हूँ, इससे पहले कि हम कुछ एक दो सवाल लें हमारे साथियों से, कि हम जन आंदोलनों का राष्ट्रीय समन्वय नाम है और हम आंदोलनों के समन्वय की बात करते हैं, तो जो सोशल मूवमेंट्स हैं वो कैसे इस मुद्दे को उठा सकते हैं? अपार्ट फ्रॉम आपकी आवाज को एम्पलीफाई करने के अलावा भी क्या कुछ चीजें हैं जो दूसरे आंदोलन, जो विमेन्स राइट्स ग्रुप्स हैं या अन्य आंदोलन हैं, वो इसमें कैसे सहभागिता अपनी दे सकते हैं, कैसे इसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं?
थैंक्स शिवा। आई थिंक एक आपने शुरुआत तो की है इस बात की। This is really funny. हम हमेशा ये हो रहा है। खैर, I just finish what I was saying. I think एक दो चीजें हैं, and then Masuma can add. आपने इसकी शुरुआत बहुत अच्छे से की है शिवा। I think the more number of people who speak about it and the more people who try to get to know about it will be a huge support to our cause. और हमारे आउटरीच में, हमारे ट्विटर, सोशल मीडिया, सारे कैंपेन्स में अगर लोग हमारी मदद कर सके तो, और हमारा सपोर्ट कर सके तो ऑफ कोर्स ये हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी बात होगी। दो और स्पेसिफिक चीजें मैं कहना चाहूंगी कि एक जो एक लीगल बैटल चल रही है, उसके अंदर अगर लीगल सपोर्ट हमें मिले, क्योंकि काफी सारे लोग इन चीजों पे, दूसरे मुद्दों पे काम कर चुके हैं, तो उसके लिए अगर हमें वॉलंटियर्स मिले या सपोर्ट मिले तो बहुत हेल्प होगी। और फाइनली आई थिंक जो सर्वाइवर्स है उनके लिए अगर हम रिसोर्सेज बिल्ड कर पाए, काउंसलिंग होती है, थेरेपी होती है, सॉलिडारिटी ग्रुप्स होते हैं, इन सारी चीजों का अगर एक हम we can build those resources, then I think it will be really helpful for survivors to come forward and talk about this, and for us also, who are campaigning, to sort of understand better ways of listening to people, and to know how to deal with how to respond to different kinds of questions and concerns that come in, would be very useful. Masuma, you could add more.
I just want to make a couple of points here. One of them is that, the community, the Bora community has been a very insular community. We are a very well-to-do community, very educated community. The women are highly educated in the community. And there is a sense of closeness which exists in this community, and a sense of insularity that, things happening outside don't really affect us. But I think the movement, the We Speak Out movement, what it has done is, for the first time, and this is for the first time, I think, in the history of the Bora community, that there is a women's movement, which is questioning a practice and which is fighting against a practice. So in a sense, it's a historic movement. But what it has also done for the women who have started talking about it, and this is an issue with, I think, women across the board. The whole concept of shame, the concept of, you cannot talk about your sexual parts or your sexual pleasure and sexual desires. This exists not just amongst us, this exists amongst everybody. And by actually doing that, by creating these whole safe spaces and network where we can actually talk about it, it's not that Bora women only have concerns. Other women also have concerns, which may be related. There could be sexual violence, there could be sexual assaults, there could be different kinds of issues which women face. And many a times, we are bogged down with this whole concept of shame. How can I talk about this? And what we have done and what we have shown, it is possible to talk. We did this amongst ourselves and we found it so liberating, you know, to be able to discuss these issues within ourselves. And it was empowering also when we did this. So I think as far as the broader movements are concerned and the women's movements are concerned, I think we also are an example where one is we kind of moved out of this insular bracket, which we are in closed environment, where we learned about so many more things. I mean, this is one platform at which we are talking, but we've been part of many other campaigns, we've been part of many other platforms, we've been part of a lot of democratic movements. So I think our women also have learned to kind of build ties, learn, share, and that process of learning, sharing, and being together in struggles has been an extremely important part of the movement. You know, I mean, all of us, and we speak out, are never going to be the same again. You know, and that I think is a big change forward. You know, where once earlier we were very happy with our own lives and our own selves and our own work, and we've moved out of that zone. So I think being part of a national movement, being part of other movements which are happening in the country, engaging ourselves, talking about it, and of course sharing our stories and our work. So there's a kind of mutual give and take which is happening and which is, I think, great.
या बहुत ज़रूरी बात बोली आपने मासूमा कि एक सॉलिडारिटी और एकजुटता की ज़रूरत है तमाम तरह के संघर्षों के बीच, क्योंकि ये संघर्ष आपस में इंटरसेक्टिंग भी हैं, ये सारे संघर्ष आपस में जुड़े हुए हैं काफ़ी हद तक। तो टुवर्ड्स द एंड 1-2 सवाल हैं जो मैं पढ़ देती हूँ एंड एनी ऑफ यू कैन टेक इट। One question is from Meera. What is the response of young men within the community? Do you all see a generational change and more openness by men to contest patriarchy and power from within? Masuma, you would like to talk about it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, yeah, sure. No, definitely. I think one thing we realized in part during our work is, you know, that men are also very big stakeholders as far as this issue is concerned. Of course, it's driven by women, but it's controlled by men. It's the mother who takes the girl for her khatta, but it's ultimately the men, the religious leaders, and the men within the community who enforce the practice. And one interesting case in Australia which happened is when two girls were subject to FGM. The case was against the mother, the nurse who performed, and the priest who propagated the practice. So I think it's the men who kind of control in the broader sense, but it's the women who become the tools for carrying out of this practice. But men also play an important role for social change, and it's important to have the husbands, the brothers, your fathers, to be equal stakeholders in this campaign and in this movement. And we constantly try to engage with men. In fact, the SAYU started a very interesting campaign called Bhaiyo, where we have to talk to the brothers also, you know, about this. And I think our work and putting it out in the public domain, the legal matter, the cases have all kind of brought the issue out from the secrecy. It's brought it out in the open, where there are discussions even among men. I know my daughter is 26 years old, and when she was in college, she had a Bora friend in college who didn't know anything about it, and she had a conversation with him about this. So yes, young men are important. Men are important stakeholders in this, in bringing about a change as well.
Correct. We have one more question. I find it paradoxical. This is the question from Geeta Seshu. I find it paradoxical that women from the community are actually known to be very educated and have occupied very significant social positions. Has any discussion ever happened with these women before? Is there any way in which these women can join in this issue? I think We Speak Out is kind of doing sort of that work only, but anyone of you would like to respond to that? Sakina, maybe?
Yeah. No, I mean, we all live with our contradictions. So do the women in our community. I think that's what I said earlier, alluded to it earlier, right? Some things are so ingrained in you that you don't think to question them. And this, I think that's why we speak out was so important to me, because you start questioning one thing and then you start questioning a lot of other things. So it's not only FGM and Khatna that I started questioning, but I also started questioning a lot of other practices, not just within the community, but also outside of it in society that we practice, as women and also otherwise. So I think that um, the good the good thing about being able to talk to other women, which we have, we've spoken to a lot of women, even if it's not publicly. We've spoken anonymously to a lot of women who prefer to remain anonymous but want to ask their questions. And then of course we have our internal groups, etc., where we do have these discussions. So the nice thing about it has been that largely, of course there have been exceptions, but largely the conversations have been meaningful and fruitful conversations. Even if we disagree fairly respectfully. So despite our contradictions, I feel that what's been lovely is that we've been able to have this conversation, which is why we speak out, because it begins with that first conversation, and hopefully leads to a better understanding of things and questioning of things, and then ultimately leads to eradication and elimination of FGM from our lives.
Very well said. Do we have any more questions, or we can call it a day? Yeah. We can take, if we don't have any more questions, then we can. All right. Thank you so much, Masuma and Sakina. This was a very, very enriching discussion. We touched, you told us about a lot of aspects that we didn't know about. We spoke about a lot of nuances to this issue, understood the problem in great detail. You touched upon very, very personal anecdotes from your life. I know it would not have been easy also, but it's absolutely commendable, the kind of work that is going on. And NAPM would definitely, is in the fight and will always be in the struggle together with We Speak Out and all other women who are working in this regard. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to all other participants also for joining us today. ये जो series है हम जमीनी आवाजें, Grounded Voices, ये एक ऑनगोइंग सीरीज है जिसमें हम अलग अलग मुद्दों पे बात करेंगे. आप हमारे साथ जुड़े रहें. अगले हफ्ते हम किसी और मुद्दे पे जो लोग डायरेक्टली उस मुद्दे से जुड़े हुए हैं उनके साथ बातचीत करेंगे. तो अगले हफ्ते हम आपसे फिर मिलते हैं. तब तक के लिए
Thank you, Shiva, Meera, and Kat, and NAPM. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Just wanted to say thank you.
No, in fact, if there's any parting comments that Sakina, Masuma, you'd like to add, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us here.
No, just wanted to say
extremely
a big shout out to Meera.
Okay, it happened again. Masuma ji, you'll have to repeat yourself.
It's totally fine. I'm getting used to it. So just thank you for having us. It's such an important discussion that we've had. And it's important that we move out of just the community. We talk to people outside of the community. We build ties, we build alliances, and we take this battle forward, because as I said, it's not just about the Bohras, and it's not just about one community. It's a much bigger issue, and there are many bigger issues which are involved. So this response also has to be much bigger. And thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. So on that note, we break for the day. Thank you so much for joining everyone. In Kalab Zindabad.